solo in my new recording studio. Um, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different to kick this off and introduce myself. Um, Before I get into it, just to give you a heads up, today what I'm talking about is baseline behaviors. Behaviors that I think should ground all of us, that should be considered the basics, that are applied to women, certainly women over 40, women of any age, um, and men, whether you're in women in menopause, postmenopause, perimenopause, does not matter for this episode. These are baseline behaviors that I think all of us should be adopting if you want to be healthy, fit, strong, um, and cover the basics. There's a lot of confusion about out there about whether we should do HIIT, whether we should do uh, sprint interval training, whether zone 2 is good for us or not. And so I all of those things are important, and I think they're all worth the attention that they get. And I think that you have to remember that fitness enthusiasts, certainly coaches like myself, people in the industry just like to talk about that. And we have the platform to talk about that. So things are getting attention, people have opinions. Um, but I have coached hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people. I review food journals for a living. I'm not just, listening and reading and then regurgitating data from somebody else. This is gathering my own, and this is through a lot of experience with a lot of people. So that's what we're talking about today. But without further ado, I'm 51. I'll be 52 in August. 51. It's going by really fast. Um, I am recording in my home. In case you hear things in the background, I apologize in advance, like a dog or an air fryer going off because my lunch is almost done and I wanted to record this. I'm also sick, so I'm sitting here in my sweatshirt, if you watch this on YouTube, in the comfort of my own home, and I just wanted to be as authentic as possible today and get this out while it has just been eating away at me. I have this conversation a lot with other coaches, with clients, which are these sort of baseline behaviors. The episode I just did is about set point habits, which is just a concept in theory I have. If you've heard it from anybody else, cool. I didn't take it from anybody. That's my own sort of. People talk about this set point weight. Oh, my weight is just here. Oh, my body likes this. I think, no, your behavior likes that. Your brain is used to that. That is, that's not necessarily where your body needs to be if you want to change it. Um, so I have been, I actually started my health and fitness career in my early 20s. I was a nutrition coach, personal trainer. I worked at a gym for years. Then I became a single parent. I'm fast forwarding through a lot of stuff, but I became a single parent, got a corporate job at about 30 years old, started selling television advertising, was always into fitness after I was certified. And loved coaching. I didn't know how I could make more money than I was making. I had sort of reached the ceiling, and back in the day, we couldn't really scale our businesses the way we could now. So it was just kind of brick and mortar, like one client for 1 hour, and that's just at some point you've exhausted all of your hours. So when I became a single parent, there was a little bit of a sense of urgency for me to get a career corporate job. I did that. I think I did a great job. I enjoyed it. When I say a great job, I mean I got the most I could out of my corporate career, I feel like, and I worked at companies that were really good to me. um, I enjoyed them. I was certified in Lean Six Sigma. I got to go to Kellogg School of Management. I finished my undergrad degree. It was just like as stressful as it was a very forgiving, good place for me. So corporate America for me, it was a grind, but I just met some great people. I had some really good bosses. I had some really shitty bosses, but I was also a manager, and I learned how hard that job is actually, and I learned how to be a better employee after I was a manager. Like, just, so if you're making your life really hard for your manager, don't do that. You're not going to get very far. But I understand that too. And not every manager is good. People get put in those roles. And, I think to some extent I was in the same boat where I was a little bit in over my head. And so I ended up it just, I always thought about getting back into this career. And eventually I did. I started my business now almost 7 years ago. Um, and just went out and launched it and said, I'm doing it. I built my own website, and then COVID hit. And I really wasn't on social media. I was never somebody to post much, and I didn't consume it either. Thank God. Somehow it was always overwhelming for me. And I had learned a long time ago not to just keep doing things that are harming me or hard for me or stress me out or create anxiety. And the few times in my life I've got caught up in that, it just never felt good. So I was never really on social media, but I knew I needed to start a business there. So I just decided I would try it. And then by the time COVID hit, I was ready to go. I knew how to scale my business, and I learned all of that through my corporate job. So my corporate job gave me a lot. I did all business process improvement, sales process, design. It just was so when I left that to start this coaching business, I had that in mind, and I have that in mind now. It's kind of deep in there for me to be, an efficient worker, to scale and all of that. So here I am now, um, and I am now in a place in my life where I think all of my own years of experience, study, certifications. I'm a certified nutrition coach, personal trainer, and I have my behavior change certification. I have my undergrad in psychology and a year on my belt of my master's in exercise science, which is, listen to the podcast if you're new to me, and you'll be able to hear the journey where it started and then the shit show that followed and now where I am. So I do plan to resume my master's in exercise science, but I also have to say, the more I work with one-on-one clients and the longer I do this, the more I think the need really isn't to understand more about nutrition and more about exercise science, although I think my the programming that I do will benefit me to have that degree. But the truth is, people just are needing to change behaviors, and by the time they get to me, and if they're at my age at 51, there's just things that are hard for us to change. And I'm working with a lot of women and men who are sort of in their last hurrah. They want to just, I hate to age and kind of miss this opportunity. um, and so the I wanted to explain here the first thing I do with clients, and what the first session involves, and then what the process is like. And so if you can't afford coaching, which I think everybody should find a way to do it for some period of time with me, whether it's 6 months, a year, really work on your habits and behaviors, your relationship with food, with your body, with exercise, with all of it. But um, so the first session I have with clients is I kind of get a view of their day. And every client's a little bit different. I don't just have a standard list of questions. I mean, I do, but it always evolves based on what kind of the nature of the client, what they're dealing with. And so I leave it pretty open for it to become what it needs to become. But I review a tracking sheet, and the sheet is the client is responsible for filling it out every week. And then it's really the objective data. Some of it is subjective, but number one, we look at sleep time. Now, sleep, if you don't have a Whoop, WHOOP, get one. And I'm saying this because I think a lot of people think they get enough sleep because they're in bed for some period of time. But I'm telling you, it will blow your mind what sleep really looks like and what affects your sleep. For me, it would be alcohol, late meals, um, certainly strain, but it's more about alcohol, late meals, those types of behaviors, and stress. And so, if my mind can't get to sleep and I've got a bunch of waking events throughout the night and I'm in bed for 8 hours, but I'm only sleeping for, 6.5 or 6 hours, it's not enough. For me, I need to be in bed a longer time. I'm usually have like 30 to 75 minutes of wake time throughout the night, tossing and turning. But the Whoop has changed my life. I tell you, it has changed my life, and I highly recommend getting one. It's linked in my link tree, which is in my bio and Instagram, and I put it here too in the notes for in Spotify. So get a Whoop and do the work, do the research. Okay, people ask me about it. Go listen to the podcast. I spent an hour and a half when I got it on the app just looking through data. Nothing made sense to me, of course. It's new, it's hard to learn, but just look through the data. Tell yourself it's not rocket science. You're going to figure this out. And then just give yourself time with the kind of data that comes in through the Whoop, because it is invaluable. So Whoop for sleep. Many clients have it, some don't. It just depends on the client, finances, but I often think people are just the immediate, I can't afford it. Well, redirect your finances. You're probably wasting your money on some stuff that, you know, doesn't isn't helping you. So get rid of that and start bringing in things and investing in things that help you. Food quality, Whoop, gym, all of it. Um, Air fryer, which I can smell my lunch in the other room. So sleep. Then we go over the macros. So they're usually tracking in the First Form app, which is cool because I can see the details of the food, but protein, carbohydrates, and fat in the first session, I set that for them based on what I think is going to be probably a maintenance caloric intake. How much food does your body need to not gain or really lose any significant amount of weight over a 3 to 4 week period? And that's the first order of business, isn't to crash diet somebody. It's to find out what their maintenance is. Through the Whoop, I can also see kind of what their activity's like. I can see level of intensity in workouts. I'm thinking of a client right now who was, her strain for a workout sits at around a 5. No, ma'am, you don't need to work out longer. This client needs to pour some intensity into that workout, and we need to get more out of the workout. She doesn't have any more time, but we need to improve the intensity of it. And we could do that in many, many different ways. So, but we wouldn't have known that if we couldn't see. She would be frustrated thinking, well, I'm working out a half an hour every day. Yeah, but the workouts are totally ineffective and really not getting much. And then she's sedentary the rest of the day, and her at her age the lean body mass has declined, so we're really just that she's burning 1400, 1500 calories at the most a day, trying to cut body fat at the same caloric intake. So it makes sense nothing is working. um, so we've got calories, and I set the macros. Then I have a calculation that will add all that up together so we can kind of see about how much somebody needs to eat. Then now I have people track alcohol separately. I know I want to know how many ounces and um, how many glasses. So not just ounces. I want to know how many glasses or how many cans or whatever it was, and how many total ounces. Remember, um, alcohol really does inhibit fat oxidation. And go listen to Huberman's podcast for more detail. You can get Peter Attia's book Outlived on that, and you can deep dive into those types of things. But trust me when I tell you, it inhibits fat loss, and I see it over and over and over. And it also messes with sleep quality, which can lead to one, depression. So I don't know why people aren't like a little more tuned in to the fact that, like, if you're taking antidepressants and drinking, what the F, man? Like, help yourself. Like, so many people are doing that right now. And it's like, what are you doing? Seriously. Like, it's a depressant. Also, it messes with your sleep, which can create over time things like insulin resistance and just mood disorders. You have poor workouts and increased appetite because you're tired, so you're going to naturally look for energy. So dial in that sleep. And if you can eliminate alcohol for a while, just get rid of it for a while. Just get rid of it, cut it out, see where it fits in your life, get some perspective on it. If you're working with me, my clients, a new client now, no drinking for the first month. I can't, it's too cloudy. Then we can bring it back in and have a better understanding of how it fits. But I have some clients that I suspect have a little trouble being honest with me about it. And that's a problem, right? If you're hiring a coach and you're not able to be transparent, that's just something to look at. And it's not that uncommon, but it's hard for people to be honest, especially if they think they're going to be judged, for sure. But I try to eliminate that early on. It's not a judgment. It's just you, when you are working with a coach trying to get results but not doing the work, everybody's asking themselves what we're doing here. And a good coach isn't just like happy to take your money. That is not a good coach. A good coach would be having that conversation with you about transparency and potentially deciding that this might not be a good fit for you and that you're not ready and we can't waste your time and money. I can do it, but it's just for clients, it's too frustrating for people to not get results and also not be transparent. So that's a really important component. Um, I look at steps barely. I mean, I don't know. Steps are like a good indication of movement and general health, but I don't hammer 10,000 steps necessarily if there's other pieces of the puzzle that we need to review. So I wouldn't be worrying about 10,000 steps as a check mark for every single person, um, and more on that. And then the last thing is cardiovascular exercise and strength training, and that's it, and supplementation. Those are the key baseline components that are important. There's really nothing else. Those will impact your mental health. Those will impact the quality of your relationships. Those will impact the way you feel about yourself. Those are the behaviors that are essential. So I think a lot of people get into the weeds before we've even handled the basics and the baseline behaviors. So, um, baseline behavior, lift weights. There's so many reasons to lift weights and very few reasons not to lift weights, if not zero reasons not to lift weights. So, this is a baseline behavior. And I'm not going to get into reps and sets. You can find all of that in this podcast, but just know that 3 days a week, lifting heavy to failure, and you will learn what that means, but you have to start lifting in the first place to even get to the point where you can learn all that and apply all that. 3 days a week at least, a baseline behavior. Another baseline behavior for my clients is to hit protein, and this is should not just be my clients, but 1 gram of protein per pound of your goal or ideal body weight. That's very well researched. I've done many episodes on it, but that's going to be essential. So if your body weight is 150 and you're trying to get to 130, have 130 grams of protein, something like that. Okay. And don't worry if you're up or down a little bit, but you definitely want to get close to that 130 to you want zero point 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound of your goal body weight. So you have a little bit of a range there. Now, a lot of people say as long as you hit your total caloric intake, it doesn't matter if your carbohydrates are high or fats are high. I know that that's supposed to be true, but I do this I all day, and what I see personally is that the less volatility between macronutrients, the greater the chance somebody has of succeeding. So even if you're in a caloric deficit, and I sometimes wonder if that's the case because if you're all over the place and you're not pre-tracking your food, meaning you stand in your kitchen at night and put all of your food in the app or whatever app you're using and plan it out till you hit your macros, you just can kind of get this, it's like kind of sloppy, um, in a sense, and there's a chance that people aren't measuring and weighing when they really just need to learn what portions are and then just consume that what's in front of them as opposed to just throwing a bunch of stuff and being like, I think that's good enough. um, some days fat is through the roof, some days you're not eating any carbohydrates. I don't see that strategy working really well for people. That's just my experience as a client, as a coach. I think if everybody has some amount of food that they need in order to maintain their body weight. Just maintain it. And I don't make the rules up. You don't make the rules up. There's just, that's the way it is. And the way we have to measure that right now is calories. There's no other way. So you can say all day you don't like to count calories. That's that's fine. I don't know another way for us. That's how we see food right now, and that's how we calculate it. You can do things like listen to your body, but if that hasn't been working because your taste buds take over, then there's some amount of food, and that's what I help clients find, where we don't gain weight or lose weight, and then we go into a caloric deficit, of course, if the goal is to lose body weight or body fat from there. Um, so I cannot tell you in this podcast what that number is for you. So that's really important. You can't Google what should my calories be for a woman over 40 for weight loss. Like, if even there, I have some clients where even if I gave them 1,300 calories, which sounds really low, they still really wouldn't lose body fat considering their metabolic output currently, because they're 5 feet tall, because they're, you know, 200 pounds, because they are sedentary, and because they don't lift weights with any level of intensity. That number might just be their maintenance, and we need to work on that. So you can't just, if you keep looking for that, what should my macros be, and changing it constantly, you're never going to make progress. So the key is consistency over time, and it's not days and weeks, it's months and years. You and the other thing is, there is a level of precision that is required if you really want to change your body composition the older you get. There's not a lot of wiggle room. There's not a lot of forgiveness for calories. Now, if you have 100 pounds to lose, you can stop eating or stop drinking soda and lose 5 pounds in a week, or 10 pounds in a week. Or you can start walking and drinking water and lose a bunch of weight. But once you start getting down into like a 20-pound weight loss, 15-pound, you need to become more and more and more precise. And I think I probably have some people being like, yeah, I can't lose this last whatever. Never mind the last five, which is a whole other level of difficulty to get that type of a weight off. And you always have to ask yourself, like, is that really what I want? Is that really how I want to live my life? Because it does require precision and a deficit over time that can just be difficult. But the baseline for behavior is protein and calories. And, you know, that is going to be essential. And I have seen people lose body fat. I have a client right now on 1,100 calories because her daily output for her burn consistently is 14 to 1,500. That's the way it's been. She's not that tall. She's super sedentary, even though she lifts weights in the morning. They haven't been producing the same kind of caloric output that she would like, or I shouldn't say the same, but producing what she would like. So her calories are run the gamut. And so if you're out there trying to figure it out on your own, like, I have a woman who I was super frustrated. It was not a client yet, but we did a consult, and she was eating 1,700 calories and so furious she wasn't losing body fat. And in my mind, I'm like, of course you're not losing body fat. Like, you probably maintain at 1,500 calories, and she was actually gaining weight. So the question is, of course, is she actually adhering, which was a whole other conversation. So she had some other eating patterns that were holding her back. But in her mind, she was doing pretty good most days. But for me as a coach, I could see immediately where she was over consuming. She doesn't think so, but you don't gain body fat if you're not over consuming calories. You don't gain, your hormones aren't responsible for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 additional pounds. That's just over consumption, and it happens, and a lot of people struggle with that. Hormones may affect your mood, they could affect metabolism for sure, things like PCOS, Hashimoto's, other autoimmune. But even those we can handle with a low carbohydrate diet, proper caloric intake, and resistance training. Like, those are the things that get you what you want ultimately. So if you're searching around for what kind of nuts and seeds should I eat, you're already too far in the weeds. We need to get you need to out calories. Uh-oh. I just hit this. Okay, it's hopefully it's fine. We need to get you thinking about protein, calories, resistance training, and consistency. Sleep, water, and alcohol. And then your whole life will change. And it does not matter what age you are. Although I think you can get away with alcohol a little bit more when you're younger. And that is true. That's actually like I think that's research. There's a documentary I watched about that, and there's some evidence that there can be this point in your life where you kind of age out of being able to consume or metabolize alcohol. I have. So I'm not having any alcohol in 2025. I probably had 10 drinks last year, maybe. Well, yeah, probably 10 drinks last year, something like that. Like so few that I was kind of like, what's the point? And this year I thought I'm just not going to drink this year. Um, so, uh, you know, the baseline habits again, okay? Lift weights 3 days a week. Protein at the 1 gram per pound of your goal or ideal body weight. Calories are they're different for everybody. Okay, I do really well around 1,400 calories, 1,500 calories for an initial fat loss phase, and then I usually have to like crank it out. And then I think there's a lot of different research about whether you should do zone two, whether you should do sprint interval training. I think it's pretty clear a day or two a week of sprint interval training, which I have that programmed in my app, and it doesn't have to be long, 10 to 15 minutes of sprints, cool, a couple times a week for cardiovascular health. You get that caloric burn. Great for the metabolism and in line with like sort of power strength instead of long sustained cardio. I do love a good zone two. Don't worry about, oh, zone two isn't good for, um, uh, menopause women in menopause, postmenopause. Zone two is like a good, healthy, sustainable way to do cardio, but you don't need to necessarily overdo it. You just need to move your body. HIT is a great one too. I think a lot of people confuse HIT though and do like a 60-minute HIT class. No, you don't need to do that. That's what's not necessary. Those workouts of like the booty builders and the body pump, and those are just generally ineffective to change body composition, and those should be considered cardiovascular workouts, not strength training or power training or hypertrophy training. And that is probably one of the things that I don't think most women understand. I still see women over 40 in those classes picking up light weights, thinking they're lifting weights. And while there's a weight in your hand and you're lifting it, it is not doing what you think. And that is it's good that you're moving, and if you like it you should keep doing it. But if you're asking yourself why you're not losing weight, why you're not building muscle, it's because that training style is not enough weight to get to you to failure with enough reps over time. Period. It's not. It's just not. And that's why get out on the weight floor, go find a trainer, find me, use my app, follow me, follow me, and learn how to lift heavy to failure. Listen to the podcasts and just adopt that. Find a girlfriend who's like, yeah, let's do this, girl. Let's go lift some heavy weights. If you're a guy, find a guy, get a trainer, and go do that. And that's how you will change that body composition over time. It's not going to be through spin class, Orange Theory. No, you could maybe, but most people just don't pick up enough weight. Same with F45. And I've done all those workouts for years, and I've seen I always just did them for cardio. And maybe if you know how to execute and pick up heavy weight, but there's just not enough reps. There's not enough time. I mean, they're just not set up for like muscle hypertrophy. Um, but still great. You'll get a sweat, you'll feel good, but sweating isn't everything. It doesn't mean you're sweating out a bunch of body fat. I think that's been a little misunderstood. Pilates for building muscle, no. Yoga for building muscle, no. Those are, feel good, but as far as really functional. Probably the long stretching in yoga is really good, but if you're doing hot yoga and you're thinking weight loss, um, no. We need to be lifting weights, doing some sprint interval training, uh, be in a caloric deficit, hitting our protein, hitting total calories consistently, hitting carbohydrates consistently, hitting fats consistently, and doing it over and over and over and over and over and over forever. And the lever that we can pull to maintain your body weight or to lower your body weight and body fat are total calories. And that should be done responsibly so that we can preserve lean muscle. This rapid weight loss thing, and I've talked about it today a little bit on Instagram, it's just the problem is loss of lean muscle, rapid lean muscle lost, gone, metabolism lower. I mean, it's just, but people don't care because, you know, what happened to body positivity, everybody? Now everyone like wants to, it doesn't, I think if I said to somebody, all you're going to do is lose your lean muscle and be a smaller version of yourself, I think a lot of people think, okay, that sounds good to me. And I get that. But lean muscle is what's keeping that metabolism going, and it's what's going to help you, as you age. So if we're getting rid of that, we're not doing ourselves any favors. That being said, I will always understand somebody's difficulty and desire to like get a hold of their deal with food and what that relationship is. So um, that is I have tremendous empathy for people struggling and trying to figure this out. Um, but from a supplementation perspective, so listen, when you hear about don't do zone 2 cardio, you shouldn't be doing hip for that long, come back to this podcast and just follow these things. And if you're looking much farther than that, you may be wondering why your body isn't changing, and it's just time. And it could be that you didn't nail your calories right, or you're not getting enough out of your workouts. But don't keep looking for new and different solutions. I'm just giving them to you right now. And I can help you set your macros through the First Form app where I'm an advisor, and I can help you. And you can literally, for $30 a month, you don't even have to do one-on-one coaching. $30 a month, you can go in there, you can track your food, exercise, water, supplementation, do weekly check-ins, and just follow the process. But where the one-on-one coaching comes in this podcast is that's not that easy. It's hard. Temptation is hard, and it's everywhere. And food tastes good, and our willpower, waxes and wanes, and we're faced with a lot of temptation. So know that I know that it's difficult, but the habits that you have created, that you may hate the outcome of the behavior and you may hate the symptom, but you are used to that problem, and you may be used to that feeling of that problem that you create for yourself. I do it too at times. Like, it's like going into a bad relationship, knowing I should not do this, but here I go because something about that is serving you. And the same is true for a relationship with food. Something about even a toxic relationship is serving you, whether you're used to it, that habit is so deep in there. But to get what you want, you're going to have to hang on to these basics, to these baseline behaviors. Now, the total baseline supplementation is creatine, multivitamin with the CoQ10, and that's in the microfactor pack. Vitamin D, have that checked. Mine is through the roof, and I don't really need to supplement with it. But vitamin D, magnesium, and omegas. And those are all, I've talked about them in podcasts too. Those are all very well tested. I learned again about them in my master's in sports nutrition. So I am a believer in those. Oh, and collagen. So those are the baseline. Just hang on to those. The probiotic too is in the microfactor. If you take a probiotic, great. But those are the baselines. Anything else, you can add things in if you want. You can try them if you want. Those are the basics. Um, and then, of course, fiber. But, you know, there, if you can nail the basic behaviors, strength training, protein, calories, then you've got, and alcohol, I think is probably another one we need to put on there. We have sleep, hydration, um, cardiovascular exercise, and general movement, and the supplementation I just mentioned. And that's pretty much it. Um, that is the sweet spot. Those are things for longevity. There's all kinds of other things people I do. I realize continuous glucose monitoring, you know, all of the things. But if you don't have the basic baseline behaviors, stop looking for all of the nuances. Get the basics covered. That's enough for now. If you can do those things and you can do them over time, again, months and years, not days and weeks, not, oh, I tried it for a month. No, if you're going down the wrong path and you're gaining weight, then you're eating too much food, and we need to get that under control. And if you're spinning your wheels, do monthly coaching with me, do weekly coaching with me. I've made it affordable for the monthly. Do a planning session and just dig in and stop. You do not have to spin your wheels, and I promise you the answer is not that difficult. It's just going to be your execution of it. It's like the answer is simple. It's not easy though. And so that's the key. That is the problem. Simple answer, not easy to execute. And if you can accept that, then you can work through those habits that just keep getting in your way over and over and over again. And that's where I can come in into play and help you. Listen to the podcast, go back, listen to, how people execute, how people change. It's not easy. It's just not easy to change behavior that is so ingrained in there and hard to even know where it's coming from. But if you can pause long enough to assess the behavior and make some of those changes, you can do it. So get grounded in the basics. I have a journal and I'm looking at it right now where I write down the basics every day, and they change for me over time. I don't have to write these down anymore because they're just so ingrained in me. I don't have to be like, oh, hit your protein. Like I know that, and I just do that. And all of these things, I just do them. They're non-negotiable. They're not, whether I'm traveling, whether I'm home, it doesn't matter. This is what I do. This is how I'm wired. This is what's in there, but I had to work for it too. But now it provides tremendous comfort. These are my baseline behaviors that help build confidence, keep me comfortable in my own skin. They help me coach. They help me show up. They help with sleep. They help with relationships. They help with, skin quality. These baseline behaviors help me inside and out, and they create, the world that I live in. They create um, a healthy body that just helps me go out and be my best. And this is all available to you. This is behavior. It's just behavior. There's no secrets. There's no secrets. This is behavior. So adopt those. Let me know if you need help. Thank you so much for listening. And please do share the show. Let's get it out there. Share the YouTube. And, I really appreciate it. Oh, rate the show too. Not 4 stars, by the way. If you do 4 stars, it kind of screws people over. 5 stars, or just if you hate it, just keep on moving. So download my app, get help through the nutrition app, book a consult. I'm here to help. And thanks for listening.